Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Paul, and we're back with geography now. Cameroon is up next, guys. Cameroon. Where's Cameroon located? Definitely heard that name before. I'm just totally forget. I don't know. I'm sorry. I was gonna take a guess, but I don't. I hate being wrong, so. But anyways, let's go check it out, guys. Cameroon. And before we do, please hit that like and subscribe button, guys. Please and thank you. And let's get to it. Let's get to it. Full screen. Come on now. Load up. Load up. Don't fail me now, computer. There we go.
Testing, testing. Is this mic working? Testing. Nope, it's not. All right, episode 2 with no audio. Here comes Cameroon.
What?
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie. When it comes to Africa, mostly you're either on the English-speaking side or the French-speaking side. But then you go to Cameroon and you find this strange, unusual hybrid anomaly. But first...
Dissect the flag.
The flag of Cameroon is pretty simple. It's just a 3-colored tri-band with green, red, and yellow defaced with a yellow star in the middle. Like a lot of other flags in Africa, the flag uses the Pan-Africanist movement colors to symbolize the freedom from colonization. The green is generally understood to symbolize the forests and the green landscape in the southern part of the country, the yellow standing for the savannas in the north, and the red, say it with me, aha! You thought I was going to say the bloodshed of those who fought for the country. No, it stands for unity. Unity! Whereas the star stands for the guidance of unity for the country. Keep in mind, this flag is almost completely identical to the flag of Senegal. The only difference is the color scheme in the middle. The band is yellow with a green star. I like to think of it like this. When it comes to the middle band, it's Camer red and Sen green. I know that's terrible, but it works for me.
Oh my. Alright,
Modern-day Cameroon's boundaries kind of have a strange story behind it because it kind of has to do with 3 European countries and multiple tribal peoples in the area. But first, although generally classified under the region of Central Africa, Cameroon is located in the crossroads between West Africa and Central Africa, right at the Bight of Bonny on the Gulf of Guinea, often referred to as the Hinge of Africa as it borders 6 other countries. From a whole, the shape of the country has a narrow neck corridor in the north with a beak that makes it look like a cockatiel or a backwards unicorn duck. By the way, backwards unicorn duck, my sister came up with that joke. Ow! Kind of like Afghanistan, the reason why the country is shaped like that kind of has to do with European history. In the quickest way I can summarize this, first the Germans took over, then the English, then the French, then after independence the English sides had to decide whether they wanted to integrate with Nigeria or the rest of Cameroon. The north sides chose Nigeria, and the south side chose Cameroon. This effectively carved out the northern borders of Cameroon, giving it its distinct narrow panhandle that reaches all the way up to Lake Chad, or what's left of Lake Chad. We'll talk about that in the next section. One thing you have to understand is that even though this island is incredibly close and off the coast of Cameroon, it is actually not part of Cameroon. It's Bioko Island, home to Malabo, the capital city of Equatorial Guinea, the only country in Africa that speaks Spanish. Yeah, wait till we get to that country. Cameroon is split up into 10 semi-autonomous regions, and when I say semi-autonomous, I kind of mean that in a very literal sense because in Africa, legislation kind of fades into obscurity when you go into rural areas. With the exception of Littoral and Adamawa, each of these regions is pretty much named after the cardinal direction that it's located in. East, west, north, center, and the top is the extreme north or far north. However, Cameroon actually has a lot of accidentally named places too. I mean, the name Cameroon comes from the Portuguese word camaroes, which means shrimp because they found shrimp in the rivers when they discovered the area. The capital is Yaoundé, located in the center region, and still retains a bit of its French colonial imprint from early days when it was part of the French Empire. However, in postmodern years, they've actually built an influx of unique Africanized high-rises with unique geometric shapes and forms inspired from indigenous patterns and architecture. I mean, just look at the CNPS building with its massive boulder. Shh, just don't ask.
It's a boulder. I'm sorry, it looks like a giant potato. That's a boulder? That's awesome.
Let it be. It's Africa. The largest and economically busiest city in Cameroon, though, is Douala, located right on the coast of the Gulf and, of course, hosts Cameroon's largest port and commercial industry. Basically, the most heavily populated areas are on the coasts, the center, the north, and everywhere else is pretty much just sparsely populated with little pod towns that are interconnected with these small dirt roads that look like a spider's web with flies caught in it. Due to the fact that ground transportation is not really well maintained, I mean only about 10% of Cameroon's roads are paved with tar, many of the towns have small airplane runways that they receive mail and packages on sporadic occasions. Entrance into the forest is difficult sometimes, and the terrain can cause a lot of travel difficulties the further inland you go. Let's talk about that terrain, shall we? Cameroon's land is without a doubt very unique and rich, which is why, in context, you can kind of understand why the Germans, the French, the Belgians, and the English all tried to take their grab at it. Essentially, Cameroon is like a resource gold mine, and they have gold mines too. Cameroon is typically described as Africa in miniature because it contains virtually every major climate and ecoregion found in all of Africa. They have coasts in the west, deserts and savanna in the north, mountains in the center, and jungles and rainforests inland to the east. In one country, you basically get an entire continent. Also, oh, did you hear that?
That's so neat.
It's the sound of eco-enthusiast budget travelers having seizures of joy. However, you can't just waltz into Cameroon and take on any region you want. You gotta be a little careful. Cameroon still has some active volcanoes, including Mount Cameroon, the tallest mountain in Cameroon that last erupted in 2000. See, the thing is, Cameroon lies on the Cameroon Line, which is a geological region of volcanic activity that extends from the Gulf of Guinea on the chain of islands like Sao Tome and Principe, all the way inland through the area of the Oku volcanic fields that extend all the way to Lake Chad. Cameroon is also home to 2 of the only 3 known exploding lakes in the world. These are lakes that have magma under them, and the lake slowly leaks carbon dioxide into the waters, and upon earthquakes or landslides in a rare catastrophic phenomena, the lake emits huge puffs of carbon dioxide that in return can asphyxiate and kill any living creature and person in the direct vicinity. In 1986, the lake exploded and killed about 1,700 people and 3,000 animals and livestock. They were effectively suffocated to death, and this was the first known and recorded incident of such a natural event. The mountainous area inland has humid rainforests and jungles that can be found, including some of the wettest places on Earth, and an abundance of wildlife, many of which are actually endemic to the area, including the incredibly rare Cross River gorilla. Further inland to the east, the land slopes into a plateau with even sparser populated regions where flocks of primates, birds, reptiles, and amphibians call home. Now, here's where things get interesting. When you head north, and specifically to the furthest north regions, everything gets dry and earthy. And that's the cool thing about Cameroon. It's the only country in Africa that claims sovereignty over regions that stretch all the way from the dense jungles of the Central African region to the north dry arid Sahel. Now in this area, and specifically at the northernmost tip of the country, you reach Lake Chad, which is kind of drying up. Now just like the Aral Sea, which we will talk about and discuss in about 87,926 years when we do the episode on Uzbekistan, in the past 50 years, Lake Chad has dramatically shrunk due to the growing demand for water by peoples in the area. Today it's only at about 5% the size it originally was decades ago. Cameroon actually owns one of the largest portions of the lake that actually still has a substantial amount of water in it. The strange thing though is that even though the lake has dried, the land that the water once filled became loaded with plants and grasses, creating a strange green blot in the middle of what seems like a vast empty arid desert. In a weird way, this actually allowed people to move into the land that was once underwater and cultivate it. Funny how people function that way. Now let's talk about these people.
Okay. By the way, I just want to say that your lane is really cool. You got like volcanoes, and you basically have like volcanoes underneath the water, but then it can kill people. So that's pretty crazy. And you basically have rainforests, and you have the flatlands, and you got like desert, mountains. That's awesome. You guys just got to go on get the coastline. I mean, you live there. Like if you're just tired of one area, you just drive and go somewhere else, man. If you want to, some new scenery or something, cool stuff. I like what I see.
Again, when it comes to Cameroon, it really is like an Africa in miniature, and that even applies to the people. Now, Cameroon doesn't really have a specific Cameroonian demographic. The country is made up of over 250 people groups and tribes that have relatively lived alongside with each other peacefully. The country has about 20 million people and is almost evenly divided between urban and rural populace. Now, it's really hard to get an exact ethnic ratio makeup, but in the most generalized format, Cameroonian Highlander tribes make up about 40% of the population, and coastal inland Bantu tribes make up about 30%. Then you have the Fulani and the Kirdi that also have large populations at about 10% each. The rest of the population is just kind of an other African people group not affiliated with either of these groups, as well as a very small group of non-Africans making up less than 1%. Although each of these people groups speaks their own dialect, all the dialects kind of filter down into 24 language groups, which are then categorized into a few language families like the Bantu and the Volta languages. Basically, if you live in the same general area, your neighbor, although from a different tribe, will still be able to communicate with you. Nonetheless, English and French are the official languages. However, French is more widely spoken. Only about 20% of the people speak English fluently, mostly in the northwest regions that used to be operated by the British. However, roughly about 40% of the people can actually understand English enough. This also means that the country has an incredibly diverse culture of traditions, rituals, celebrations, customs, and even dance styles. And that's the thing about Cameroon. Every tribe kind of brings something to the table. For example, Cameroon is the only place where you can find the beehive-shaped Muskum mud huts built by the Muskum people.
Cool.
The Bamoun people, for a short while, invented one of the only few native African scripts in the early 1900s, the Bamoun syllabary alphabet. It was eventually cast into type in 1918, but then fell out of use in 1931. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We didn't even talk about the Fang people and their cool masks. So as you can see, Cameroon is like a smorgasbord of culture. However, one thing that it does kind of lack is political stability. I knew there was a catch. This place seemed too perfect. Yeah, Cameroon does kind of rank a little low in Transparency International's rankings. They typically are in the upper 140s out of 176 countries listed. It partially has to do with the fact that the country has really only been under the leadership of one of two men since independence. The first president, Amadou Ahidjo, and the second, Paul Biya, who has been president since 1982. Biya has been criticized not really for what he institutes, but rather for what he doesn't do. He makes very few public appearances and has an aloof reign over his country. Sometimes he'll be out of office for months hanging out in France, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on hotels and luxury items as riots break out in his own country. He's been accused of holding phony elections to justify his position in office and persecuting any opponents that try to step in the polls. Nonetheless, Biya does still kind of maintain national ties with other countries and kind of acts as like a national spokesperson. Now let's talk about whom he rubs shoulders with.
Huh. That's crazy, though.
Now, Cameroon wouldn't be shaped and molded into the Cameroon that it is today if it wasn't for the various investments and interactions that they've engaged with over the years. For starters, Cameroon has a few disputes with Nigeria and Equatorial Guinea over maritime borders and exclusive economic zones. Some will tell you that these issues have been mostly solved, but most will also tell you, Canada and the US have great relations with Cameroon. Cameroon is a huge hub for US Peace Corps volunteers that help out with aid and HIV/AIDS treatment centers, as well as agricultural development projects. Canada not only started relations with Cameroon early, but in a funny way is very similar to Cameroon in that both countries share a culture of English and French division and influence. Now, as a former colony, Cameroon clicks very well with France. Both countries have numerous militaristic, economic, cultural, and construction agreements. The president is a frequent visitor to Paris, almost a little too frequent, and I guess one thing that he can be credited for is having successfully secured France's love for Cameroon. As for their best friends, however, Cameroonians would probably say their neighbors in the east, Chad, the Central African Republic, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. These countries understand each other pretty well on both a cultural and diplomatic level. Peoples of the north resonate well with Chad, whereas people in the east and south gel well with the Central African Republic and the Democratic Republic of Congo. All four countries speak French and have centuries of historical ties that go beyond brotherhood. In conclusion, you have this amazing, lush, diverse country with some legislative issues and gorillas and lakes that can suffocate you. Like, either one. Stay tuned, Canada is coming up next.
Canada's next. Sweet. But anyways, yeah, Cameroon got it all going on. It's cool that we're in the friend zone together. That's awesome. And yeah, just very exciting stuff. And I just like how the land's played out. I wish with your president or your leader, he's been in power for 40 years. People have tried, but then they get assassinated if they try, or not assassinated, but they get killed if they try and get elected instead of him, So I guess you guys are in a tough spot because, it's a big risk if you try and run against him. But anyways, cool country. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please hit that like and subscribe. And I guess do my own country next, Canada. So I've actually already seen my country years ago when I think this video first came out, but I'm going to go over it again. But anyways, catch you guys in future videos. And appreciate you watching. And yeah. Peace.